to start the recording. Thank you. Hi, everybody, and welcome. We're here this afternoon to talk about the Connecticut Balance of State, HUD Continuum of Care renewal application process for this year's NOFO, for this year's Continuum of Care competition. I am Shannon Quinn Sheeran here with Housing Innovations, and I'm joined by Liz Isaacs, my colleague, and my other colleague, Miles Wenzek, who's our eSnaps guru and helper. So if you have questions along the way, raise your hands and feel free to unmute yourselves or put them in the chat, and Liz is going to help keep an eye on the chat.
I will. So I just put the slides in the chat and I'm going to let Shannon get started. And then I will also put in the project list that we sent around because this is an unprecedented year to say the least. So we know there could be questions, confusion. We're always helping each other out as a team, reminding each other what we're doing. So there is no silly question. And please, like it's that thing at school, if you have the question, someone else probably does too. So please jump in, ask questions because this hour or hour and 15 minutes is for you. So we really want you to get the most of out of it and make sure that when you get off with us today, you know what direction you're headed in. Thanks.
Yeah. So we are scheduled, as Liz said, to go for a little over an hour. We have time for questions at the end, but yes, feel free to ask questions along the way. And so before we jump into our agenda, we just want to acknowledge the extreme stress, perhaps sadness, and other big feelings we are all having about the changes in this NOFO. So before we get started, I just want to invite everybody to take a breath and do whatever it is you do to help deal with stress. If you want to maybe put what you do in the chat to help with stress, I think that might help each of us and help each other know that we're in this together and we're walking with each other through this challenging time. I personally try to breathe before, like maybe about 45 minutes before this webinar. I did a little 10-minute meditation. I think I even jumped up and down because I was feeling a little jittery. So those are some things I do to deal with things when I'm stressed. So again, feel free to add anything that you all might do, and maybe we'll all help each other through this.
Oh, I love it. Walking and praying. Two things we can do at once. Exactly. I know I just got
Yes.
back from taking my dog around the block, so that helps. That helps.
Yeah. Keep it coming. I'm going to keep going with the agenda, but keep it going in the chat. Thank you. So the agenda, I wanted to, let me see, ask for a show of, well, first I'll go through the agenda. We're going to walk through what's new and notable in this NOFO, and you all know there's some new priorities for this administration that have been put into this NOFO, so we'll talk a little bit about those. And then we are going to, like a typical renewal webinar, we're going to walk through eSnaps. And some of these slides are there just for reference. Like this can be a guide for you as you're doing your renewal application, as you're walking through it. Or of course, there's also the detailed instructions that HUD puts out. What we have linked in these slides is from 2024, and we're hoping they're going to put out new instructions. We'll get those out to you as they become available. We're going to talk about applicant profile and then the specifics of project applications. We're going to talk through the timeline, what is due when, and what our process will look like, what's required of you as providers, and then we'll have a slide with resources and time for questions at the end. I did want to ask for maybe a show of hands, is there anybody here who's completely new to eSnaps? I'm looking through the provider list.
Don't be afraid.
I am. I'm sitting. This is Ava Padowick. I'm sitting with Cameron. So.
Okay. All right.
But you know what? No, actually, I'm. You know what? eSnaps.
Yes.
I have dealt with it before.
Okay.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, but I would like to know what NOFO means.
NOFO. Notice No,
of
no,
funding opportunity.
notice of funding
Okay, thank
opportunity.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Also, Shannon, I do think you're still a tiny bit hard to hear for folks. Somebody put in the chat if you could just shout a little bit. I'll let
Shout.
you know if you
I'm
can't.
not
If
going
you
to be
can't.
great at shouting, but
I
let
know
me
you're not.
adjust my audio
That's better.
settings
Yeah,
and
that's better. And then Shannon, I'm just wondering why we have a captive audience at the beginning before we wear everyone out. If we wanted to just do a couple quick announcements, so we
yeah.
know that. Oh gosh, Miles, 45 minutes ago, we got the GIW, which is the grant inventory worksheet, which should match all of the grants that you have been awarded this year, or you are waiting. You've been awarded, but you might be waiting for your information from HUD. So as soon as this is over, you guys will get an email from us asking you to look at the GIW and to make sure that it matches what your current funding is. So just
So
wanted to
keep an eye out for that email, and when you get it, give a quick look to the GIW to make sure it matches your grant, your renewal grant that is starting or it could be new grant that's starting this operating year in the calendar year of 2026. Yeah.
Yes, which, not to confuse things, but is not going to match what you're applying for in 2026. So that is the project list that we put in the chat and that we sent out ahead of time and that we will reference several times during this webinar. Okay.
All right.
And
So
for ACT on the HMIS, the GIW has different amount than the amounts that you probably just received just recently. That's so so we'll fix our document to match the GIW. But I think that's the only grant that I noticed so far that's different from the amounts that I have put
Yep.
together. So
Okay,
all
and
right.
then
Thank you,
the
Maz.
period of time is this operating year, so starting in 2026 that the GIW is covering.
All right, I'm going to move us forward.
Yeah.
Reminder to everybody to sign up for BOSS, the Balance of State emails, to make sure you get this email about the GIW and any upcoming emails we're sending about the NOFO and other important things. And when we talk about your projects being submitted and when they're due in Zengen, which is our continuum of care's project management database, and we keep all information about our providers, the specific grants received, and it's also somewhere we can collect documents for people. So here's a link here for Zengen. Please take a look if you're not in there already. Sign up, but I think most if not all of you, are already signed up for that. But if you're not, there's information at that link in order to do that. New and notable. So HUD's goals and objectives this year. It's important to align all of your applications with HUD's goals and objectives. So what they do this every year. They say these are our goals and objectives for this NOFO. This year, there's a big focus on increasing self-sufficiency. If I had to pick a buzzword for this NOFO, I would say self-sufficiency is it. And they're defining self-sufficiency, HUD is, as being able to support yourself and your household without benefits. So we know that that's not going to be the case for some of our clients, some of our participants in these programs, but that is what their goal is, for people to be able to support themselves and pay for their own rent without benefits. Another goal is reducing homelessness, and specifically reducing unsheltered homelessness. HUD is really, if you look along this list, they're encouraging supportive service agreements that meet individual needs and advance the goal of self-sufficiency and independent living. They're encouraging working with law enforcement, first responders, and their state and local governments, but people's jurisdictions, state and local governments, to reduce encampments, to reduce public camping and public drug use, in effort to address barriers to maintaining housing and increasing self-sufficiency. Another goal is to provide trauma-informed care and to ensure participant and other safety for communities at large. So those are kind of the buzzwords that HUD is putting forward this year. And it's part of what we want you to think of, and there's going to be more later in this, when you are looking at your narratives, right, for project descriptions. So again, it's a different year. Most grants are going to have, like usually in the eSNAPS application, there is the submit without changes page. I think everyone or most everyone will have some significant change this year, whether it's budget or narrative or things like that. All grants have to review narratives for practices and terminology to make sure it's in alignment, or if it's not in alignment, tweak it, right, with HUD's priorities. And we have a document that's linked in an upcoming page that has phrases and words to look for that are in your renewal application, and options that you might use to adjust that language. And of course, as we all know, PSH grants, permanent supportive housing grants that are remaining permanent supportive housing will remove the supportive services budget line item, and then the portion of their admin budget line item as appropriate for that, that goes along with their supportive services dollars, so that it's still 10% or less admin. And Liz, did you link that spreadsheet already with the budgets? Yeah. So that's
what we did was took out all the support services out, admin up to 10% of the support services. So if you had less admin, then all the admin went. If you had enough admin, 10% of the support services was admin. If you have HMIS in your grant, that's one thing that's not on the slide. We also took out the HMIS out of the PSH grants with the admin as well. So
thank you, Miles. Okay, in addition, something new, every applicant, every grant application is required to certify that they will not do the things that are listed on this slide. So engage in illegal racial discrimination, operate drug injection sites or safe consumption sites, knowingly permit the use or distribution of illicit drugs on property under the applicant's control, or knowingly distribute drug paraphernalia. Examples of that are syringe distribution or exchange, and safe or crack cocaine or methamphetamine smoking kits. Those types of things are prohibited, and you have to certify that you are not doing those things in order to apply for funds this year.
Yes. Kim, did you have a question? And then I think Ashley has a question.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Liz. I did. And this you guys might not be able to answer this, or I might just be kind of crying to the choir, but about as far as I know, they're looking for the promoting self-sufficiency and increasing unemployment. If the majority of our folks are on SSI or SSDI, I mean, are they going to be taking that into consideration? If 80% of our folks are unable to work, will they be looking at, you know what I mean? We're not going to have a large percentage of people getting employment. Probably
Yeah.
It
is hard to say how they're going to look at that. I would, when you're filling out anything that asks you questions about that, I would talk about how the participants in my program all have disabling conditions, or what percentage of them have disabling conditions. But I think I might also talk about with the service requirements, right? Like how you are working with them, or people who might be asking if they're interested in working part-time, or those types of things, to go along with the values of this administration.
I would say the same thing. Exactly.
Okay. I'm sorry, my phone thing. So I got the point about putting down, excuse me, the percentage of people that we have with disabling conditions, but the latter part, just to put something like, and we'll be encouraging those to get part-time employment to supplement their SSI kind of thing.
Well, yeah, or just make sure that when you're doing, talk about when you do your assessments of people regularly, that employment goals or education goals are always a part of that to find out what people are interested in, what they might be capable of, and what they might be eligible for, so that if they could work part-time, you're facilitating that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a great question, not a dumb question at all. And I'm glad you're saying it because we're going to clarify this. So, if you are a project in Tier 1 and you're a subrecipient, and we're keeping the PSH units intact, but we are shifting and reallocating those services in that grant, which is all the PSH in Tier 1, into a big SSO grant, you still need to complete a renewal application, and Shannon's going to talk about what that needs to look like. I'm going to clarify because some of you on the Zoom also fall into this category. If you are a services only project, you have no units. Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong. You do not need to do anything because your
Say that
services.
again, Liz. If you're a what
So
and
if
you have
you're
no
a
units,
services only, so your PSH services only.
you have a PSH project, but all you have in your budget is supportive
Correct.
services and admin. Yes, then
Correct.
you don't need to do anything. Then there will be one big supportive services only grant
Yes.
that we're working with Demas on creating.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which they will then RFP back out. So,
Yeah.
but if you are a project, because this is very important, which the majority of you are for PSH, where you have units, but again, those services are being shifted. Shannon's going to talk about what your application will look like, but you do need to submit an application.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
So I'm seeing questions. Are we self-certifying as an agency to meet this requirement? You know, the language about this certification was in the NOFO. We're not exactly sure what it's going to look like in the application. So just keep an eye out for what it looks like in the application. And we're not sure it's going to say if it's as an agency or if it's for this program in particular. I thought self-certification was for housing programs only. Does this also pertain to SSO grants? I think that's another thing we're going to have to wait for the application to see what language is in SSO grants as well. And then you answered that last. Okay, so that's okay. We're going to keep moving. So as you may know, BOSS implemented a service participation requirement back at the beginning of this year, Liz. Yeah, so in order to get full points on this continuum of care application, all projects must certify that they require services. And in January, the steering committee voted that all COC funded projects must require participation in supportive services as a condition of applying for new or renewal grants. So to help with that requirement, CT Boss created a COC sample service agreement. So please, when you get the slides, click on that to see how that's worded and how you can comply with that requirement. And then we also updated our engagement principles. So formerly Housing First, now engagement principles. Take a look at those two resources to help implement that service requirement. So as a part of this, I think there were a lot of questions on the part of DV providers, right? So projects that are prohibited by other statutes, such as DV providers, from having service participation requirements, may be unable to immediately implement this requirement while awaiting court guidance on how to resolve legal conflicts. We're aware of this, so just to let you know. All right, next. Transition grants, just to we're having a webinar tomorrow on new projects and transition grants that are transitioning from one component type, such as PSH or rapid rehousing, to another component type, such as transitional housing. We're going to talk about those tomorrow. So here's the link here to join that, and it's from 10 to noon tomorrow. And we'll be covering all kinds of good stuff about new project, and it's particularly focusing on what transitional housing looks like, and the projects application specifics that are applicable to transition projects. All right, I think I'm going to hand it over to Miles, who's going to walk us through the beginning of the eSnaps slides.
Miles, before you do that, we have a question. So it's not guaranteed we will receive supportive services. It's what will be available. Is it one-to-one? So I think that's the big supportive service grant you're talking about that will be DEMIS. And Margaret's probably referring to the conversation we had at the steering committee where we're still kind of figuring out what those supportive services will look like. So to be continued, this is what we need to sort of see what the future is going to look like. And I know that's not a great answer, but yeah. All right, we're going to let Miles do.
All right. eSnaps is our online database, the electronic platform where it only submits applications. You might have some APRs back in the day in there, but it's just applications now. So, and we submit all the COC applications here. For those are not part of the DEMIS or DOH applications, you'll be updating your applicant profile. For anyone that is a DEMIS or DOH or will be a DEMIS and DOH due to new projects or this transition or whatnot, you'll have to, and if you're not in the DEMIS or DOH's applicant profile user, you'll have to ask Alice or Steve, depending which agency you're going to applying for, to gain access to the eSnaps for that applicant profile. Someone in DOH and DEMIS is going to update the applicant profile, so that side, this whole piece that I'm going to talk about, you can skip because I think DEMIS does that, and Lisa does it for DEMIS. I'll be working with them, so you don't have to worry about this whole part. But if you are a nonprofit organization that does the applications directly, and you're the applicant, yeah, then this part pertains to you.
And what is linked here at the What is eSnaps on eSnaps is the eSnaps 101 toolkit. So if there is anyone who is less familiar with eSnaps and that process, this is a good resource for you to use.
eSnaps, unfortunately, is not the most user-friendly. So, all right. So you'll have to, if you never use eSnaps, you'll have to create an account. And then a user of the applicant profile will have to add you into as a user. So it's pretty simple, straightforward to create an account. There's a on the bottom left there's a button or tab. It says create profile. It opens up to this thing on the right, and then you'll just you'll have to add a registrant, and you fill out all the information, your name, your username, and your email account, and so on and so forth. Then you'll have to send a username and your email to the admin person that handles the applicant profile. That, like I said, DEMIS and DOH, that'll be Steve and Alice. But if it's your agency, then it's whoever's in your agency if you're not there. It's required internally for COCS to have at least 2 users, because we had situations that someone was unavailable for a few weeks and no one else had access, and that just leaves the whole application process stalled. So someone else needs to have access to this because someone else needs to move the ball rolling. And I know it says optional, but it's preferred that I have access, because the last minute changes, and if you're not available, I go and fix it. There might have been something that wasn't checked off properly. I could fix that real quick and resubmit at the end. Okay, now we could go to the ones that doing the applicant profile. Uh, uh, slide, please, change.
I just want to point out for the applicant profile that the eSNAPS application, it's not out now, right, for renewal and new projects, but the
Yes.
applicant profile can be updated anytime. And we've sent out a few emails, so hopefully it is updated for you all. And if it's not, you can go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, because in most cases, you probably don't. What you're going to update is the HUD 2880 form. So, and you're going to base it on information that you have. You might have to base it on some, unfortunately, some outdated data because we haven't done the sub awards for 2025 yet. So that's in process, and that might take some time. So I would just say, just put the last year's information, or the best information you think it is, in as the HUD 288 form, because uh, the sub awards, I don't know how long it's going to take because it's back and forth between me and Lisa Oli, and then it takes a while to produce the letters, and someone else deals with the letters. So
So use the most recent information you have.
yeah, so for those that have to update the applicant profile, you have to go. It's on the under the works. This is always going to be there. It's the top thing under the workspace on the left. And you press the applicant word, and it opens up the screen where you can see there's going to be I don't I it'll say children, registrants, parent, open, or an applicant. If you are going to add a user, you go into the registrants, the people looking symbol. And if you are, but otherwise, we're going to open up the what do you call it, the Manila folder looking thing, and it opens up the applicant profile. And then once you open up the applicant profile, you'll see all these questions. It's like various different things, but you have to go to the bottom. You got to go to the submission summary. eSnaps is, like I said, not user friendly, so this is kind of backwards. So you're going to the bottom. You're going to click and open up the summary, and then you're going to click the button that's circled edit. And once you press that, it'll flip to complete. So now you could go edit any of the documents. And in most cases, most of the pages are not going to change if there's no one left or no one switched jobs or whatever. But the only thing you're really going to fix is the HUD 2880 form. But if your contact information does change, you'll have to change that. I doubt your congressional districts change, but just double check to see if everything's fine there. Indirect cost is now in the applicant profile, so you'll have to update that if that wasn't updated last year. In most cases, many people haven't probably updated last year because you didn't have to do a renewal application. So in this case, that might be something you have to update. And then you're just confirming the code of conduct, which should be right with HUD. So that's probably it has no change. If you change your 501(c) for some agencies have changed their names, or that there might be some update, then you'll just have to attach a new one. And once you're all done, you go back to the submission summary. Now it feels like you're at the bottom page, and then you hit the button complete, and then it'll flip. The button will say edit, and then everything's locked right on it. It'll say it's locked because of it's not in edit mode anymore. So, and then you're good to go on that.
Miles, can we stop for a second? It says, when attempting to add a registrant via the paper clip button, I receive an error that says there's no matching user found.
The person has to create an account first.
And there's a specific username you have to that you input, and then you have to apply with. So make sure those things are correct.
So
I think I can put in how to register with eSnaps. I think that's We have instructions somewhere on that,
That's a
right?
help document somewhere. Yeah.
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 Okay.
So yeah, and once you have the username and that email, that's all you need. That could be plugged in directly into the registrants. And everyone as a registrant that you're plugging in as admin, um,
Give them that role. That's what you're
there's no
saying.
there's no levels, security levels. Yeah. But then again, this is only application, so you don't need security levels for this. All right. For indirect costs, we have for some agencies have a negotiated rate, the NICRA, which you get from some federal government agency. I or you could claim de minimis. If you have an NICRA, you have a negotiated rate, you you either you're going to use that or no indirect cost. You you cannot go de minimis. You have to use the NICRA if you have one, because that you already negotiated it. But if you don't have one, you could go de minimis and indirect cost rate, which I won't explain in detail. I know there's a training for that. That will do a better job than I would. But pretty much it goes across all your categories that you could use your indirect rate on every category in your budgets, but there's some limitations on that too. I think I covered this, but
Yeah, except
yeah,
for that, if you have a negotiated indirect cost rate, make sure you attach it there.
for agencies that are DOH and DMIS, please submit these documents with your application when you're submitting the application. So I, I'm I'm not 100% certain how we're going to handle it for DMIS or DOH at this moment. So, but it's good to have because that's even if it's not in the application, it's good for us for the monitoring because we know that's those costs are are at a certain rate. We should be collecting that anyway. I think that is this last slide for me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Miles.
Any questions before we move on? Because we know eSnaps is such an easy, fun database to use.
We're still gonna walk through some more slides on these steps, but yeah, any
Yeah.
questions? Any new questions, Liz?
I don't see anything.
All right, thank you. Code of conduct, we have two slides on this in particular because HUD had a brief webinar about the NOFO. It was about half an hour long, maybe even less, since they released it in the beginning of June. And they spent a few minutes specifically on code of conduct. So we said in this couple of slides before that part of the applicant profile is to check to see if your code of conduct is on file. So there are a few words on this slide about what needs to be in your code of conduct according to HUD, and all federal award recipients, accepting states, and subrecipients under federal awards must have this code of conduct in the on file with HUD. So there's a link here. Check the library for all the code of conducts because they only last for a certain number of years. So you may have submitted it a few years ago and it may not be there anymore. So check that link. Make sure that it's on file. If it's not listed in the Code of Conduct e-library, then what you do is you forward an electronic copy of your document to askgmo@hud.gov. And there's a list of items here that the email should contain, right? So the email should contain certain things, and then the document itself should contain certain things that are on the previous slide. And HUD made a point to say, failure to provide a copy of your code of conduct and notify HUD of potential conflicts of interest may prevent applicants from receiving HUD funds, right? So that's an important step to make sure that you're taken care of.
And we always want everyone to follow the rules, as you know, but there's never been a year where you need to really follow the rules more than now. So we're going to just keep reminding you about what feels like administrivia and minutia that isn't important, because this year we're considering everything important and trying to dot all our I's and cross all our T's. Yep.
And it does feel like more than ever, HUD is able to use AI, right? Just do broad searches of what exists where, from ELACs drawdowns to whether we have your code of conduct to whether your APR was submitted on time. So we're focusing a little more, and it would be good for providers to focus maybe a little bit more on those things, having all your I's dotted and T's crossed because of that new technology that's able to be used now.
Well, APRs is already flagged in the HUD Sage database, so they already have things already there. So
All right.
it's already built in the database.
Thank you, Miles. All right, we're going to walk into, we just did the applicant profile. We're going to walk into the actual application. So projects that expire in the year 2027, from January 1 to December 31st, 2027, are eligible to renew. And NOFO projects, special NOFO projects, are renewing now. Also, they're eligible to renew. We posted a document that has all of the renewing project names, and it has the total dollar figures that you are eligible to apply for in that document, and that is linked here. So please, it's important to use the project names that we put there. It might seem silly to you, but we, as part of the NOFO, have to send lists of projects to every local jurisdiction about what projects we're applying for in each area. And so the project names we use on there need to match the project names that you all use when you're submitting your projects in eSnaps.
Yeah, and I tried to use the same format like you guys used prior years. If you said it's FY 25 last year, I changed it to 26 or something like that. For just a note, for DEMIS or DOH, I'm taking care of all the applications in this system, so you don't have to create those. So this, anyone that's doing DOH or DEMIS only, you don't have to worry about that. I'll be taking care of this.
You'll be taking care of creating them, but they'll have to review them. True?
But they'll have to go, well, yeah, they'll have to input whatever data
Yes.
in the application, but they don't have to do the funding opportunity, because they only have to do that once. But we had that one year, someone did it multiple times. And then you don't have to create the project. So the next two tabs that will be taken care of.
All right.
So that's one less thing someone has to worry about.
All right. So creating a new renewal application, complete this section only once per applicant, regardless of how many renewal applications you may have. You go through, click on funding opportunity registration, number 1. You see the funding opportunity on the left-hand side menu. Then as in the applicant field, make sure that your applicant is the one that you intended to be. So I know some of you may have DEMIS or DOH grants and then may also have your own grant. So you could have a different applicant there. Make sure it's the right one. And then click on the renewal project application that you are intending to create. So some of you, it might be renewal project application FY 2026. These screenshots are old, so you're going to make sure that you're looking for FY 2026 for continuum of care, COC applications, or if you're a renewing YHDP project, you look for YHDP renewal project application FY 2026. So now that you've created those, like you may have 3 PSH grants you're applying for. This screen here is where you name them and would create the individual grants. So you click on projects on the left-hand menu, and then in the funding opportunity name, you click down, you filter for the correct project type. So if you're doing straight renewal for a COC project, you look for renewal project application 2026. Then you click on that paper icon with the plus sign on it, and it'll open the new project screen. Then you name the project here using that naming convention that was just linked on the previous slide. And you can import data from the 2024 project application, or is it 2025 project
I
application
mean,
now?
here's the quirk. Since most people don't have a 2025 application, I'm not even sure you're going to be able to import. But
Okay,
yeah,
that's a good
I'm
point.
guessing
So
because, yeah,
So if you can import, look for your most recent option. It's going to have a drop down list for you. Look for your most recent application that you can import from. If you can do that, it makes things way easier to move forward. You still have to review the data that's imported, but it makes things way easier.
if you can't import, unfortunately, we don't know yet. If you can't import, you'll have to pretty much re-enter everything. I mean, it's sorry to
But
say, but yeah, that's
you
good.
could you could kind of have the application side by side if you do have to re-enter
Yeah.
things, so you can cut the information from one and paste it to the other.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning because now would take longer, so you just have to plan for it. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, and just I know it's said before. If please enter the applicant name that we gave, especially the latest spreadsheet, because if you put like draft or something like that, when they send out the awards, they actually use the original name for whatever silly reason when they're giving out the awards on the awards list, and it makes it very hard to figure out which that belongs to because they're sometimes you just put draft in thinking, okay, this is a draft, and then eventually you just rename it later. But when they send out the awards, they'll just put that actual name, draft application.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Miles. I'm going to keep us going.
yeah.
So now that you've created your application, you've given it a name, you're going to begin your application. So from the left-hand menu, you're going to click submissions and choose your newly created application from the menu. Choose the name that you just input. So these, before starting, you see the heading here, are the different screens that appear in the eSnaps application. Many of these initial screens are, do you certify that? Or they fill in information that you did put into your applicant profile. Screen 1A, they ask you for your application type PIN number. The PIN number is just the first 6 digits of your grant number. Number 1D we'll go through in the next slide. And it can be confusing. The full applicant, like some people just like to look through everything before they start filling things out. You can't do that the way eSnaps is set up. You have to complete through 1K or 1K, in order for the whole thing to populate. So if you do through 1K, then you'd be able to walk through and look at everything else in there, but it doesn't populate until you go that far. So congressional districts and dates. In this section here, you will move the correct congressional district for the project or district or districts into the box on the right. And in number 17, proposed project start date and end date. Just make sure your start date is for 2027 and your end date is for 2028.
And Shannon, we just
The
have
only
a question.
exception.
Oh, go
The
ahead.
only exception is January 1st, 2028. That's the only
Correct.
exception. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we import a previous application, can we still edit the information? Good question. Yes, you can always still edit the application.
And you should, yes.
And you should. You're going to have to.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Shannon's going to talk about it in a minute, but really everyone is doing more editing than usual this year. Yes.
Yeah, if you're doing editing, this is a page you always have to edit because you have to change the dates because they'll import last year's dates. So,
Yeah.
and that's sometimes people skip over and then you have to fix it later. So that's just a reminder. That's all. The dates are always going to be wrong here.
Lisa, I think, has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I jumped on late, so I apologize. I was in another meeting. I need to check our code of conduct. So I just want to make sure I'll have time to check that because I know sometimes once the project's created, if I update the applicant profile, is that going to mess things up or no?
You can check the code of conduct now, right? And eSnaps isn't even open for the renewal projects yet. So as long as you do that within the next day or 2 days, you'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will do that tomorrow.
Great.
No problem.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I referenced this before. There is the ability to submit without changes, but I can't think of anyone, like possibly the HMIS grant might be able to submit without changes, but everyone still needs to check your language because of what I talked about earlier about the priorities. So the submit without changes page, I imagine, is still going to be there. Are the requested renewal funds reduced from previous award as a result of reallocation? So if you are one of the projects that your supportive services are being reallocated, then you click yes. If you're not reallocating any funds, I know we have, like, for instance, what I just referenced, the HMIS grant or some coordinated entry grants or some transitional housing grants are not reallocating funds. So you would click no on that. And then if you say that you are making changes, make changes is the next one. You just need to click the box to the right of whatever section you're changing. You can't so try to catch them all. If you don't, you can always come back and say, yes, I really am going to make a change to that section and go ahead and update it. But if you don't click here, the application won't allow you to make changes on the screens coming up.
Well, I mean, if anyone got an increase from last year to this year, which pretty much everyone did, you're going to make changes because your match is going to change. So just assume you're going to make changes right off the bat.
Yeah, and change the match amount. Yeah. So this is where we talk about the narrative review. And once again, aligning narratives with HUD priorities. It's important to review for the terms or phrases such as housing first, equity, even terms like marginalized or vulnerable groups have been identified as like disfavorable terms from this administration. For YHDP in particular, if there's anything related to gender and or LGBTQIA, we advise removal of those terms. And CT Boss put together this document that's linked here, language adjustments to align with HUD policy priorities. So in that document, you know, if the terms are able to be eliminated and or just a sentence eliminated and the phrase, the paragraph still makes sense, great. If you, in this document, there are suggested terms to replace the disfavored terms. So hopefully that's helpful to you all.
And I just put it in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank you. So adjust and or add content as applicable also regarding like those priorities we talked about earlier, how the project improves or will improve outcomes. Does it increase income and exits to permanent housing, decrease length of time homeless, how it increases employment income. Even like I was talking to Kim about earlier, if you know that most of your people have a disabling condition, talk about when you do assessments, how you assess for that kind of thing and whether they might be eligible for some employment training or education, things like that. Increased exit to specifically unsubsidized housing when possible, provide access to treatment and recovery as a means to improve self-sufficiency, decrease unsheltered homelessness, and improve public safety. 4A, the supportive, we're walking through some of the screens here too. 4A, the supportive services screen for a provider. When you enter, so you're entering here, who is providing the supportive service that's listed under the supportive services title here, who's providing it, and then the frequency with which it will be provided. If you have a budget that includes, like in your budget, it includes some of these, like case management, for instance, then HUD would expect to see recipient, subrecipient, or partner as the provider here. And like that goes for anything under the supportive services category. If you indicate partner in here, then HUD says you must have a signed formal agreement or an MOU with that person. So just to let you know that if it's not if it's not a recipient, subrecipient, or someone you have an MOU with, then you're just going to say a non-partner is helping with that. So I think I said everything here. Then 4B, housing type and location. The units must match the 2026 GIW or grant agreement. And as Liz said earlier, we're going to be sending that GIW out probably today. I think there's a question, right?
Yes, Eric. Oh, Eric, did you have a question? No, maybe he was just waving at us. Okay.
Eric, unmute if you have a question, and then we'll stop. But I'll keep
I'm
going
sorry.
here.
I wasn't unmuting for me. I didn't realize I was
Okay.
I was still on mute. Back
Okay.
to the previous slide, and I'm sorry my computer is being weird today. On the
That's
checking off the non-partner recipient,
yes.
we don't do like the assessments and case management. We simply administer the housing vouchers for our folks. Demas. So I know in the past I've put a partner, I think.
Mhm.
So they have contracts with the various nonprofits that do the services. That would be an MOU. That would be considered an MOU. That would be
Yeah, it does. It says a signed formal agreement or an
okay.
MOU, so that's a
Okay,
signed form. Yeah, that makes
okay.
sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so housing type and location. The total units and beds that are on this screen, housing type and location, must be consistent with what shows up on an upcoming screen, households and subpopulations. And they must indicate your project's maximum capacity at a single point in time. So just so you know that those different parts of the application have to be consistent with one another. The numbers reported must show units and beds directly supported by COC program funds. And then there's a question on 4B that asks you to identify your geographic area. And then there's a link here if that helps you to find your geographic area. Budgets. In general, summary budget line items must correspond to the GIW. Again, projects reallocating some funding like supportive services would reduce your budget line items or eliminate them in section 6E accordingly. Budget changes, this is always has been allowable. Budget changes of, you're allowed to move up to 10% of one budget line item to another budget line item within your project. Changes of more than 10% are not allowed. That has to be made through a grant agreement amendment. Reallocation is an exception. You're allowed to reallocate portions of your grant. In previous years, the last couple of years at least, VAWA was automatically checked as a budget item that you're applying for. So we're not sure if it will or will not be checked this year. If it is, it doesn't mean that you're required to use that budget line item, but you are allowed to shift up to 10% of another line item into the VAWA if that is something that you want to do. Match. So HUD requires that providers match 25% of the total assistance requested, excluding the leasing budget line item, as match. So match is funding that is going into the project for HUD allowable activities. If you're monitored, match review, a monitor will look to see that that you met the 25% requirement. We recommend that you don't exceed 25% even if you have it, because when HUD monitors, it's just more paperwork for you, right? It's just more verification that you are required to provide when it's not necessary. So we recommend not going above the 25%. On the match screen, there's a question, does the project generate program income that will be used for match? So if the answer is yes, so if maybe you're a TH project that has occupancy fees that goes towards match, you have to enter a description of that program income to answer that question. Because in general, like program fees are not allowable, but income from occupancy fees is allowable.
Shannon,
If you,
I'm sorry, how about return security deposits for program income?
that's a good
I know
question.
it is good. I'll make a note. I have no idea.
I would say that has to go back towards the project for sure. I would not necessarily enter that as like, yes, my program is generating income, because I don't think it's always a sure thing you're going to get the security deposit back.
Yes,
Right?
it's
Like
funny.
that's
That's what Sylvia just said. We
yeah.
never get them back.
Yeah.
Oh, but Google AI says that it does consider them program income. We'll yeah, we will check into that, but we love that.
Mm.
And then Sylvia's asking us about services with DEMIS and DOH. I think again, my unpopular answer is that we have to put a pin in this and figure out what's going to come next with services. But we're going to let DOH and DEMIS address that, and to be continued.
Are you going to be working with backup? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the answer is they're going to be working with providers. What is going to be done for sure is
Yeah,
not known.
absolutely.
So sorry, going back. If you have third party match, you must attach an MOU confirming the commitment for whoever's providing that third party, or however you're doing it, to the COC application. For more information on match, because there's a lot out there, there's a link here for you, and for relevant frequently asked questions, use the search word match.
Very good. We have Lisa and then Sarah.
Okay.
And for the DEMIS grants, the grants that DEMIS is a grantee on, we generally do the cash match, just as an FYI.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And we have a question, just confirming that as long as our agency is listed, oops, can't read anymore, on the Code of Conduct e-library, that we are all set. Ours was submitted in 2019, so I want to make sure there isn't a time period we need to update it. Also, do our subs need to have their code of conduct? So yes, so sub-recipients also need a code of conduct. I don't know the time frame answer. Shannon, do you know that?
I'm not sure the time frame answer, but I know if you search that code of conduct document and it's still there, then you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Kim.
Hi, yeah, I put it in the chat. I think I just wanted to confirm, if you have a rental assistance program and the tenants are paying their portion of the rent to the agency, that is okay for a match, correct? Not if
Yes,
okay.
that is
All right.
program income. That is okay to be counted.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to just be conscious of time. It's 2:00, so I'm going to move through. Budget screens, renewal projects. The detailed budget is not needed usually, like that the supportive services on a new project is a pretty detailed screen that's not necessary on a renewal screen. Review and update screens for rental assistance, leased units, type of rental assistance, make sure the FMRA area is correct. Ensure administrative costs are added here. I'm not sure, they are not always auto-populated, so look at that amount and make sure it's correct. And make sure all BLIs match the GIW with the exceptions for reallocation and up to 10% movement of funds. Here's a screen that just reminds us of the attachments. Nonprofit documentation for projects with nonprofit subrecipients. You need that as an attachment. Third party match we just talked about. Replacement reserve supporting documentation if that's applicable, which it isn't very often. If you have a federally approved negotiated indirect cost rate agreement, that needs to be attached, I believe, to the applicant profile. And if you're a YHDP project that is going to ask for a match waiver, then a letter is required as an attachment for that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liz.
Great. So we are going to try every year. We say, Miles, when people submit renewals, what are the issues? And so then Miles tells us. So he already mentioned it, the start and end date, which feels unfair because if you do the auto populate or import the data, it's just wrong and you have to correct it. So anyway, take a look at that. If your APR spending, if you were underspent, you're going to want to give a good explanation and you're going to want to explain how that's not going to happen again, hopefully. I will also say if you submitted your APR late, we are not going to spend too much time explaining why it was late, but a lot of time explaining why it won't be late again. As Miles mentioned and Shannon mentioned, HUD really knows that it kind of has all the information at their fingertips. So it's also really important, not that you wouldn't, but if you are underspent, you got to fess up. And if your APR was late, you got to fess up. So if you don't know that about your project, you want to find out because we want to make sure that we're providing accurate data there. Shannon mentioned this too. In 2024, the VAWA was auto checked, but you don't need to use it. So who knows what this year will look like. If it does, you won't be required to use it. For the budget, this is a little different this year. Instead of matching the GIW, you're going to match the project list that I put in the chat and that we've sent to you guys, and that's in the slides because this year just looks different. You're going to want to include required attachments. So you might need to have a 501c3, or if you're doing an in-kind match, you're going to have your in-kind match documentation. And you always want to make sure that your populations and subpopulations match. So from section 4 to section 5, that we're describing the same project with the same populations. Questions, comments? Okay, so the timeline. So eSnaps is still not open. So in terms of submitting your applications in Zengen, they are due July 1st or a week after eSnaps has opened. So the later of the two. So we want to give you guys some time to get it done. But eSnaps is not open yet. If eSnaps opens in the next few days, Miles and I are going to have office hours on Friday. Oh, that's not Friday. That's my fault. That date is wrong. It should say the 26th. Sorry, we have a lot going on. I'll correct that. And we'll send out a reminder. But if eSnaps hasn't opened, it doesn't make sense for us to do office hours. So folks who have given us projects in the past know that you're going to submit it in, you're going to work it out in eSnaps, PDF it, submit it in Zengen. We're going to review it. We're going to send it back as fast as we can. You're going to make revisions, and you're either going to send it back to us if we asked you to send it back, or you can submit it in eSnaps if we've told you to do so. But you're going to wait to do that. And Miles said this before, but it is really important if you can have more than one person available. I know it's cruel and unusual that it's like summer and we have terrible deadlines here, but unfortunately we're just responding to, HUD's timeline. So it's really helpful if you can have more than one person. Also, if like your hall office is on vacation or you have some extraordinary circumstances, please just be in touch with us so that we know what's what and we'll help you and, be reasonable. But these deadlines are to protect our funding and your funding. So that's why we appreciate that. So I'm going to talk really quickly about our youth demonstration projects, our YHDPs. And we have a bunch of slides here. I'm just going to go through the first couple and then we're going to let the rest of them be for reference. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, so we saved YHDP for last. So if YHDP doesn't apply to you, you are welcome to either ask a question or hop off. We know your time is valuable. And like Liz said, we're not going to talk through every slide. So you can stay till the end or whatever your preference is.
Oh, all right. So let me pause. I'm sorry. That makes sense, Shannon. Does anyone have a question? So I'm curious about payments for nonprofits transitioning from rapid housing to transitional housing. Is there currently an idea or plan for what entities would be making those payments?
You're talking about, I think, rental assistance payments. I think that I think that DOH had an idea about how they might work that with their providers. I'm not sure exactly what they plan. I think it would be best to talk to DOH about that.
Yeah. And we hear it's a problem to not be
Yeah.
in control. I know, Sylvia, you're nimble. We all have to try to be nimble like Sylvia.
Yeah. Thanks, Risha.
What other non?
I think Margaret has her hand
Okay.
up.
Yeah,
Margaret, you
Margaret.
want?
Hi, I feel this question is, my head is spinning. I know many people's heads are spinning around this and everything else outside of HUD also, but I feel I just have to say this out loud. So yes, I'm on the right track. So I've looked at the 2026 NOVO instructions, many times over for the programs we have. And I just want to be clear with the PSH grant, which we have one that is retaining as a PSH.
Mm-hmm.
And now in that list, it doesn't have services. So the services were taken out.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be a renewal. So when I
Yes.
renewal, okay. So when I do the renewal on eSnaps, I have to adjust the budget.
Correct.
So no services. I mean, it's a new
Correct.
amount of budget, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. And then our second one, then I always laugh. So we have a transitional housing that just keeps going at a pitiful amount of money, but it
Yes.
still keep going for, decades really. But that would just be a renewal, like it's just unchanged.
Correct. Straightforward, no budget adjustments. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mary Ellen?
I just have a clarifying question. So our grant will be removing the support services is about 36,000, I think, and admins, whatever. So that will go into a larger grant with other support services through DEMIS.
Correct.
And then DEMIS will do what?
DEMIS, I believe, will put out an RFP for services for all of the programs that are like yours, where the funding is being removed for supportive
So
services.
we would respond to an RFP for the portions that we.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
As it is right now. As you know, things are evolving and they're evolving quickly.
Yeah.
But that is what
So
I
we're not,
know at this point.
We're not competing for each other's monies, is what I'm after.
Well, this is Margaret. It seems that we are, if they're putting out an RFP. And that was my question, is it 1-to-1? And I don't believe it will be. So yes, we are. I mean,
yeah, Lisa has her hand raised. I wonder if she's trying to answer this question. So Lisa.
I had a question just for Mary Ellen. Which grant, Mary Ellen, are you referring
The one
to?
in this category is SVD Middletown SHP. It's our Next Steps program.
Okay, so we're
And
not the grantee on that, correct?
What?
You guys are the grantee on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you.
So then I have a services only grant, which you're gonna DEMIS, I guess, or somebody's renewing. So I'm just trying to figure out, am I gonna have to, is it going to be competitive to get our money back? I guess that's my question.
I think there are, and I won't put Lisa on the spot, there certainly are procurement rules that DEMIS is going to be required to follow in terms of an RFP. But as Shannon said, this is evolving. It just has not been fully.
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, it will be, of course, and then we will have an answer. We just don't have an answer today on exactly what that's going to look like.
And my second question is, the new lawsuit was filed. So do we have hope that this could all get squashed? I guess we can, because it got squashed for this coming year.
It's important to have
I like
hope.
the hope, Mary Ellen. Put the hope out there. Yes, I mean, yes, yeah, and yes.
It's hard to read the tea leaves, but I also, many things can happen as they have throughout the past year and a half.
And I think the
2
November
years,
elections are going to be in play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that answered my questions.
Thanks, Mary Ellen.
Thanks, Mary
I know
Ellen.
You're
it's frustrating.
welcome.
It's frustrating having so many question marks. We wish we had more
That's
answers.
okay. You guys are doing a great job,
That's
and
nice.
I
So
think
we're trying. Everyone's trying.
your strategy is correct. It's just going to be very hard to work with clients to upend their whole,
Absolutely.
and that's what we have to figure out. I mean, I think a lot of us are serving people that there's no way they're going to be employed and on their own in 24 months. They're too disabled.
Right.
So I think that's going to be the toughest part of all of this. But
Yeah.
I thank you for your
Absolutely.
leadership. It's impressive, as
Thanks,
always.
Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Mary
Yes.
Ellen. Any other non-YHDP questions?
It looks like Kim has her hand
Oh,
raised.
Kim, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry
Oh,
again.
sorry. No, that's what we're here for.
That last bit was a little spooky. That's new, and I'm kind of piggybacking on Mary Ellen. Does my video work? Oh yeah, there
Now
it
we
is.
see you. Yeah.
Okay. So right, I understand that Demas is applying for the support services, but there's no guarantee. So we have one program with Demas, but then we have our program directly through HUD, Project Home.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's funded, there's no guarantee that we'll get those support services from Demas?
There's not a guarantee right now. Yeah, I do believe that Demas has signaled that they're going to do what they can to make projects whole, but there's not a guarantee. Yeah, we cannot guarantee that we are providing services on any. Yeah, well, especially this grant is going to go into tier 2.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
So there's not a guarantee, which makes it not PSH, right?
Right, that's
And
what I was going to say.
yeah, and there's no guarantee that we're going to get anything in tier 2 funded. There
No,
just isn't, unfortunately. But there has also been talk about state dollars in Connecticut helping towards
Right,
services.
I was just going to mention that. Yep.
Go ahead, Mary Ellen.
I think the governor still has quite a bit of reserve funds, and I think if that happens, I think the governor will step in because we can't leave our projects without case management.
Yep.
And I think it's a good process to push it through Demas. And so I think we're in a very fortunate state. I mean, we have other states in this country that don't have a Demas or
Absolutely.
a rainy day fund that are very poor states, and those states are going to suffer the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Any other non-YHDP questions?
Yeah, it's 2:15 when we want to respect your time and get through the last few slides. But we
Thank
can stay
you.
on after if
Yeah.
Yes, you're
That's
welcome.
fine. And we're here. Please reach out and
Thank you all. Thank you, Miles. Thank you,
Thank you.
Liz. Thank you,
thank you
Shannon.
all.
Thanks, Mary
We're so
Ellen.
We
fortunate to have all of you.
Thank you. We
that.
appreciate your patience and partnership because this
And
is
anything
not
you
easy.
need, like if you need stuff for the municipalities, let me know. I can
Oh,
help
you
you.
know I will, Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll have you on
Bye.
the air. All right. Bye to everyone. Anyone who doesn't want to stay on for YHDP, and please reach out and feel free to contact us. Okay. So YHDP can consolidate YHDP projects, at least a replacement project. They can change component types. So if you are going to change a component type, you need approval by the YAB and the CAN, and you have to be in touch with us and DOH ASAP. So please, if you're doing anything different with YHDP, please be in touch with Katie Duran at DOH, and then we can be in touch with her. It also has to be consistent with a coordinated community plan, and you can replace parts of the current program design to conduct YHDP special activities. There's a whole list of those you can see, and it needs to demonstrate that it directly addresses youth homelessness. The replacement application, here are some eligible activities. You can do leases. They now allow minimum term of 1 month under the rental assistance budget line item. You can do leasing, sponsor-based rental assistance, project-based rental assistance in rapid rehousing projects. there are special activities, and nonprofits can administer rental assistance and transitional housing projects.
So I just want to flag that as
Yeah,
different from a
that-
non-YHDP. Oh, go ahead. You were going to do that
Yeah,
already.
no.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. And you can use admin funds to support costs to involve youth with lived experience in project implementation, execution, and improvement, attending conferences, trainings that are not HUD sponsored or approved, and subject matter has to be relevant to youth homelessness.
So then the next few slides, I have a lot of YHDP special eligible activities. And I think we're not going to talk through each and every one of them. If
Yep.
you have any questions on any of them, of course, and YHDP is relevant to you, you're welcome to ask them. There are lots of really potentially beneficial things that can be done with YHDP that can't be done with
Yep.
other types of applications. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to necessarily read through every one of these slides. So I'm going to move us along. Match requirement. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that applicants that are intending to use program income as match must provide an estimate of how much program income will be used. And if you all are using the special activity of waiving match requirements, please contact DOH for that supporting documentation. Interested? Reach out to us, reach out to our pal Katie ASAP. So if you have any interest, please let us know right away. Questions, comments, concerns?
You can still ask questions, but I'm going to just move to the resource. Someone has their hand raised?
I do.
Oh, Carissa. Hi, Carissa.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hi.
Hey.
I just wanted to ask, will we need confirmation from DOH of our match requirement? I think we've done that in previous years. Like a letter from DOH, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, you will. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good question.
And
So
someone asked if the slides will be shared at the end of the meeting. Yes, they will.
Yes. And we have a whole bunch of resources here, so folks can check out all of that. The navigation guides, these are all dated, but it's all we've got. And if/when HUD creates new ones, we'll make sure you have access to that as well. Oh, look, Katie is going to get Carissa her letter. We're already getting work done here. Fantastic.
Thanks, Katie.
Carissa, do you have another question?
I don't, but thanks, Katie.
See? Just making the magic happen right here, Carissa. And these are important resources. We've talked about these, so you can click on them, all the good information we talked about. Again, project funding and naming, really important. We've got an FAQ and provider updates, how to submit an engine, sample service agreement, and the language adjustments we talked about, aligning with HUD policy. Contact us. There are emails, and then if you send something to ctbosscoc@gmail.com and say that it's a renewal application question, we will answer even faster. So try to do that if you can. But please reach out, call us. I know people put like, oh, this is a silly question, this is a dumb question. There are no dumb questions. So we always say don't suffer in silence. Reach out to us and we'll suffer with you.
Liz, you want to stop the recording and we can stay on if people have more questions?